Introduction to Hilchot Shechita. This will be the first shiur in Hilchot Shechita. The intention by learning the Hilchot Shechita so that we should have a master, and we should master the laws, and at the same time also we will be illustrating the physical activities on screen of how to do each step. As Hashem will get down all Hilchot Shechita, and after we do Shechita we'll go on to Bidikot Kareya, and all the different activities that pertain to the processing of birds and animals according to Moshe B'Yisrael. So I'm just reaching out to my dear Talmidim, many of you I may never meet, my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. I never met, maybe I'll never meet you, but this will be available to you so that you can study this and internalize it. Hilchot Shechita is a very, very important part of the Torah, and it's not just because of the kashrus applications that I say that Hilchot Shechita is very, very unique. Kashrus, of course, there's complications that if you have 1,000-pound animal and you shecht it and you distribute the meat and it's not kosher, there could be, 1,000 to 2,000 people that are eating from that animal, and therefore the isur of the shechita is very immense, it's tremendous. But there's also another aspect of Hilchot Shechita that I find to be very fascinating. On one hand, we're taking life, but at the same time, we're taking that life to give life, so people can sustain themselves. So to take life for life is already a moral dilemma. Torah allows it. But in the process of taking life for life, it has to be in the most humane possible way, where the animal will never experience any pain. The halachot of shechita, shiyah, drasa, hagrama, chalada, iko, the 5 hilchot shechita, are there to illustrate that in the process of doing the maaseh shechita, the activity of the shechita, there's never any pain administered to the animal. I remember one of my first times preparing a very big knife, and I'm going up and down with the knife on a stone, and at some point I notice that there's blood everywhere, and I'm wondering, where did the blood come from? I'm just sharpening a knife. It came from me. And then I look at the knife and I see the top of my finger is sitting on one side of the knife. I go, ooh, that's a problem. So I took the top of my finger and I stuck it back on like a yarmulke onto my finger, and I licked it, taped it down, and it worked. But it was such an amazingly sharp knife that I obviously didn't feel any pain. Generally, when you feel something, you go, ouch, and you know where it is. But I only discovered the pain much, much later when I discovered the blood. So it's a very, very sensitive thing. We have to create a balance. Am segula is a segol. Segol has a right, a left, and a center. We need to create always harmony and a balance. The objective of Hilchot Shechita, yes, even in the moments when we're taking life, we have to be so sensitive, ultra sensitive in the process that it should be so painless for the animal. So again, shiyah is a hesitation. No, you're prolonging the agony. Drasa is you're chopping. Chalada, you're stabbing. Hagrama is you're shechting it not in the right location. Ikor, you're ripping out the simanim. Ripping out the simanim, according to certain shito, it means to say that there's even the slightest nick in the knife. At that point, when you do the ma'aseh shechita, instead of smoothly cutting through, you're ripping through, because now that when there's a nick, even the slightest nick, renders the shechita improper and pasul, and therefore the animal will not be kosher to eat. The Gemara in Chulin, also part of the introduction, Darash over Galila, Behema shenivra min hayabasha hechshira b'shnei simanim. The Gemara says like this, that a behema, an animal that was created from dry land, it needs that a person should do the maaseh shechita and cut through 2 of the simanim, the kana and the veshet. The kana is the windpipe, the veshet is the esophagus, because it was created from dry land. Dagim, fish, safta, you just have to gather them up. There's no obligation for a maaseh shechita on fish. Birds, that was created from rakak, lashon Gemara. Rakak means to say a murky water, a muddy water. So therefore, they don't need to shech two simanim. One is enough. The majority of one's enough. And so much so that Rav Shmuel came in along and told us that if you look at the legs of a chicken, they have scales on them. Why? To illustrate that there's a certain synergy between chicken and fish, because they're very similar from the process of creation. I'd like to elaborate into this and to give an explanation. The more something is megusham, something that is more earth-like, meaning to say its development came from much more materialistic being, like a behemoth, it came from earth that is solid. So therefore, in order to rectify it, to be consumable for humans, it needs a larger process. So the greater process is Shechita rov shnei simanim. You have to come and rectify it through the process of cutting through a maisa, positive activity, through two of the simanim. On the other hand, fish, which is created from water in essence is pure, the fish doesn't have to go through a process of purification because it's in essence inherently pure. On the other hand, a chicken is not a fish, and it's not a cow. It's in between somewhere. So therefore, its process of tikkun, of rectification, ready in order to come to human consumption, is with the shechita of one siman. Either the kana or the veshet, you do the majority of one of those two, and you're fine. And so much so that there's a siman in the relationship between a chicken and the fish. They both have scales on their body or on their feet, because chicken was created from krak. That's the Gemara in Chulin Daf Chav Zayin Amud Bet. The Gemara in Chulin Daf Chav Chet Amud Bet teaches us the source of where do you know that we have to have shechita at all. The Tanya Rebbe Omer V'zavachta kasher tziviticha. Chumash in Devarim says, V'zavachta, you should slaughter the way I've commanded you. Milamed shenitztaveh Moshe al hashochet, al haveshet v'al hakaneh, aval rov echad ba'of v'arov shtayim b'behema. Moshe Rabbeinu was commanded. Now it's important to see the language that he was commanded. Shenitztaveh Moshe al haveshet v'al hakaneh. On the veshet, esophagus, the kaneh is the windpipe. Al rov echad ba'of, majority of one and off, v'arov shtayim b'behema, and majority of two when it comes to the larger mammals. All right, which we're going to get into a discussion. What is the essence of this tzivui and what is its halachic ramifications? Rashi says, "Kasher tzivui lamad nitparasha lo mitzvah shechita al pen," that it was explained to him the laws of shechita by heart. In other words, the hainu. Where do we find it written in the Torah, the laws of Shechita? So it must have been transmitted from Hashem to Moshe Rabbeinu directly, and therefore we're going to analyze, is this part of the oral Torah, or this is part of the written Torah? So the Drisha writes, in the opinion of Rashi, that it's called halacha l'Moshe Sinai. That is the definition of this hilchos shechita. Now, there's a machloket if halacha l'Moshe Sinai makes it into the oraita, written by the Torah, or if it makes it into the classification of the Rabbanan. Nafkamina, the difference would be if you have a safek. You have a safek. So if it's rabbinically ordained, so the law is that a safek d'Rabbanan l'kula, when it's rabbinically ordained, you come in and establish. If you have a doubt, you can be lenient. But if it's coming from the Doraita, it has to be stringent and therefore it would be asur in a safek. The Pri Megadim explains in the Hakdama to Hilchot Shechita that the definition of halacha l'Moshe Sinai in this specific application is that it has the same severeness as a din Torah, exactly like it was written in the Torah. So therefore, it has in it the application that if it's a safek deoraita, you have a doubt in this certain halacha, we go the chumrah in all of Hilchot Shechita because it has the classification of a din deoraita, which I find very fascinating. Tosfot comes and teaches us something else. Tosfot says over here, Yesh mefarshim de darish bigematria. Now listen to this word gematria, because the Bach removes this word. The kaasher, the word kaasher tziviticha. That's the words in the Torah. Kaasher chaf aleph shin resh. Aleph keneged echad ba'ov. The aleph is equivalent to 1 by a chicken. Shin, the letter shin, shnayim bebehema. It's giving us a hint. Resh, rubo shel echad kemo. Rov echad ba'of, rov shtem behema. And if you want to take the Rosh Tevot of this word Ka'asher backwards, you'll find out, that's what it says, Ka'asher heavy rubo shel echad kemo. The majority of one is exactly like it. That's when you look at the word Ka'asher backwards. Resh, Shin, Aleph, Chaf, that equates. Look at Tosfot, you'll come and it tells you that. What I find very fascinating in the words of Tosfot is that Tosfot calls this a gematria. And generally the word gematria comes to imply when two things have the same numerical sequence. And therefore, even though they're not related, they get the same status, or they get the same similar common denominator because of the numerical value. Over here, it's not a gematria, it's a drasha. It's an interpretation of a word based upon the acronyms of the word. And therefore, it's very interesting that Tosfot comes and tells us that it is a gematria. And I'm going to allude to something. At the same time, I think there's some extra words in Rashi. We know that the mitzvah shchita is al peh, by heart. So why does Rashi add in the words the hechan tzivuhu bechtav? Where do we see that it was written, that it was commanded and written? The second I tell you that something is oral, then obviously it's not written. Why am I telling you that it's orally? And therefore, where do we find it in the scripture? I already established that it's oral, so it's obviously not in the scripture. Why are we coming and we're repeating it? Rov echad, lav mikra yalef. Rashi says again that the next words, we don't learn it out from the verse. It's very fascinating because the Pri Megadim is learning in the dat of Rashi that a suffix in Shechita would be deoraita. I'd like to make a diuk in Rashi, the hechen tzivu bechtav, that Rashi is elaborating that it was totally verbal, and we don't find it written. And he repeats himself, lav mikra, we don't learn it out from the verses. My intention, my understanding in Rashi is not that it should be, not like the Pri Megadim, not that I'm coming to say a chidush, but it's that the elaboration in Rashi is extra, and therefore maybe the intent of Rashi was to tell us that it really isn't on the status of a deoraita. It is not, contrary to the words of the Drisha. And you know what? It doesn't seem to be such a far-fetched thing, because the Tosfot is coming and telling you that, oh, these laws of Shechita, you learn it out from a gematria that's not a gematria. It's a drasha that's a drasha. The ka'asher is the aleph. It's what many would call it chasidish Torah, which means to say that it's a remez. A remez is not something you take with the full emphasis of a din Torah, right? So there's a possibility, and I'm just saying this to be ma'or, there's a possibility that Rashi and Tosfos are learning that Hilchos Shechita is not the oraisa, contrary to the words of the Pri Megadim. But that's just for those that want to be ma'ayin. On the other hand, that's not the opinion of Rav Rishonim. So therefore, oops. The Rav Rishonim are understanding that it has a din d'oraisa, meaning to say the Tur is understanding in the Bach that Shechita Shnemitzdave was a din d'oraisa, and therefore even on chicken, if you have a suffix in chicken, it has a din d'oraisa. Dr. Moshe understands and brings the Rambam, Shitas Rambam, that shafilu shchitas oif is midoraisa. That the concept of shchita is a mitzvah sasei doraita, from the words of Kashet Tziviticha. So my theory is refuted by the majority of rules, but nevertheless it's a possible tzarchiyut. The Yad Avraham brings in a very interesting machlokes Rambam and the Ravid regarding the definition of Hilchos Shechita. The Rambam says it's a mitzvah taseh. A person can become a mitzvah taseh. The Ravid disagrees. The Kesef Mishnah explains that the intention of why the Ravid disagrees that it's not a mitzvah taseh is it's a type of mitzvah. It's not really a mitzvah. If a person wants to eat chicken or eat beef, then he has to shecht. It's not something that you have an obligation to do it. If I want to be a vegetarian, I can be a vegetarian. It's not my obligation. It's ein ze mitzvah michuyevet. It's not a mitzvah that you are instituted and obligated to do. It's something that if you want to eat meat, then this is the process that you have to go through. So this is part one of an introduction to the laws of Shechita. Thank you for listening.